you have lots of reasons to be angry, to be hurt, to be mean-spirited, to be whatever, based on all that tragedy that happened in a dysfunctional family with all the difficulties that you've recounted, but you didn't.
I don't know how you always show up like ready, willing, and open, and an open heart. How can you do it? And I said, it's very simple. I am unwilling to hurt, abandon, or rob myself. I was created by the divine, and that's where I'm sticking with that story.
Embark on a captivating journey into the intriguing world of human consciousness with Douglas James Cottrell, PhD. Douglas and our diverse range of guests delve deep into the mind, illuminating our limitless potential. Engage in profound dialogues that pave the way for personal growth and uncover the hidden power of your consciousness. Your journey towards personal growth continues here. Now, here is Douglas.
Well, my special guest today is an amazing woman who has gone through many ups and downs in her life. As a person who is a true survivor and somebody who has gained a lot of wisdom in her life, you are going to be fascinated by this lady's story. It's absolutely amazing. Temple Hayes is my guest today. She has written an amazing book called When Did You Die? And I can't wait to find out more about what that title means and more about her book. Welcome to the program today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Douglas. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
There is a lot to find out about you. You're a woman who's multifaceted. You've had a lot of experiences in your life. Like most of us on the path, we've had difficulty, long suffering. And somewhere along all the way, we have this wake-up call that puts us into a position of wanting to be of service, to help the world, change the world. So tell us a little bit about your background, because it's a story that needs to be told. What happened to you when you were a child? You had a lot of tragedy and difficulty. I was fascinating in reading your bio today. Tell us about you. Who is Temple?
Well, Douglas, I think one of the dichotomies for me was that at 5 years old, I was outdoors. I remember it like yesterday. I was climbing a tree like a child would do, and I got the message that I came here for a reason. It was very significant. I felt it very strongly throughout my being in whatever 8-year-old language that would be. So then where I live inside the house, the physical house, was extremely dysfunctional in that my mother was being accused of having an affair. They took her away from the home and they did those barbaric shock treatments.
Oh my God.
Right. And my mother returned weeks later to myself and my younger brother, and her pretty much her memory was she didn't have much recall at all, and she went on to take doctor prescribed drugs for about 45 years after that, if not longer.
Oh my God.
I remember going to the doctor there in this small town and saying, look, I'm a I'm a recovered alcoholic. My mother's a drug addict. And he said, he's very Southern. He went, honey, why would you say that? I said, well, I think 38 years would be my first clue. What about you? So anyway, in that space of that, Douglas, environment, culture, innate, whatever, I was more drawn to women for probably safety, felt heard or whatever. And so my first relationship was with a girl that was 17 and I was 13. And so that being said, my father walked in on us. We were just being intimate and too close for his own measure. And my family, here we all go in the car and we go to the mental health clinic. Well, where I
Oh,
went in my mind is that I'm going to be sent away and they're going to fry my brain like they did my mother. And so for many years, I lived in like I call it the silent witness protection program. That I was very quiet about anything with me. I would get a trophy, then I'd drink a lot. And I remember after the family found out, the looking good family, because the Hayeses were about looking good. And I remember the day walking in for a Thanksgiving dinner and
gosh.
everybody looked at me different.
Oh gosh.
Nobody looked at me the same way. So I, from that day, abandoned myself and turned on myself for about 15 years.
Well, as somebody, as a counselor, and what I do for 50 odd years now, your family was in the deep South. We should establish that. Bible Belt, everybody worrying about what everybody else is thinking. Meanwhile, your father was abusive. Your mother was mentally assassinated. Those shock treatments robbed her of her mind, her life. And I'm sure as a young little girl looking on at this tragedy, and I read in your bio that your pets were destroyed and run over, and then your grandfather ran you over with a vehicle. And
Yes.
it's a wonder you made it till 13. Okay. It's a wonder. And then of course I think, in some sort of way you're looking for love. And somebody came into your life, a little older girl or young lady, and it was natural as far as I could see that here you are in a cocoon of fear all of your life, your young life. I mean, most people would have done worse things, than they would have not wanted to continue in their life, and they would have become a statistic. But you survived somehow. So in reading your bio and reading and seeing it today, there are a lot of people, we have an international audience, there are a lot of people around the world who have hardship and difficulties. What was that spiritual quality, or what was that you had that knowledge that you came into the world for a special place? I would interject, you parachuted into this family. You had nothing in common with them. And I see that as one of the key things, Temple. Interesting name you have, by the way, that when you parachute into a family, you became a way shower for the family. You had to arrive here in these circumstances to do what you had to do. And this seems to be a common thing, that when somebody comes into a family, you don't fit in. There's a wisdom as a child that you know this. But where is that point? How did you console yourself when you're crying yourself to sleep? How did you watch out for the boogeyman that was always watching you and gazing at you, and then the family rejecting you? The old saying, a prophet is never honored by their own family and in their own country. And I kind of think that fits with what you do now. But how did you do that? How did you survive those
Well,
times?
at the time, I could not ever forget that what I was told when I was 5. So no matter what was going on in the darkest of times and the craziest of times, I kept remembering that I was here for a reason. And even though I would be carted off every week to the Southern Baptist Church and hearing how unworthy I was along with everybody else, and we're going to hell, and all that programming,
Fear.
that constant programming, I felt something different. And though I didn't talk about it, and I saw what that level of religiosity would do, because I did talk to my grandmother, who was a matriarch in the family, of course, and in the Baptist church. And my grandfather, John Temple, to this day has a building named after him. I did attempt to tell them. And she told me what I saw isn't what I saw. So it's kind of like, well, what would fit best with that conversation? Oh, alcohol. What I saw isn't what I saw. And then I would try to tell the police officer that when he'd pull me over, like my grandmother said, what you saw isn't what you saw.
Well,
But
we haven't got to that part yet, but you did have, shall we say, a little overindulgence in
you
alcohol.
think?
Uh,
Yes.
and you were driving your car occasionally while you were happy, and you had the opportunity to meet all these wonderful police officers along the way. So
Oh my gosh.
you survived, though, right? You survived.
Totally. Totally. And I'm happy to say that those around me did. But you know, the first time I was pulled over by a police officer,
Did
he
he put the
simply
handcuffs on you?
yeah, but he wasn't initially. You know,
Oh,
now if they had stopped me as I was then, I mean, they wouldn't even talk to you. They just cart you to the jailhouse. But this was before we got into, you know, Mothers Against Drinking, which is so necessary, or driving under the influence. We didn't really have much of that going on then. But
okay.
when he pulled me over, all he was wanting to do was tell me that my lights weren't on. Metaphysically, right? Your lights aren't on, ma'am. You don't have your lights on. You're not living your light. I mean, that was the point of the story, the deeper part. But I went, what do you mean? What you see isn't what you see. And I argued with him. So then I got to be cuffed and carted to the jailhouse. I was arrested twice. I tell people I'm the one that gave the idea of the off-road terrain vehicles. I just don't get commissions for it.
Well, listen, you know, again, those are pretty scary things. And
They are.
so how did you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, so to speak, and get to be the person you are today? You're a leader, a counselor, you're a sought after speaker, you have books. How did you get from that dark space? And I think that was an angel that spoke to you. From my world, when you were a child, you had that angel talk to
Hmm.
you, to give you those words that were indelible and stayed in your head all of your life,
Hmm.
sort of like the life preserver that stopped you from drowning. So
Absolutely. And so I had a spiritual awakening. I had relocated from South Carolina to Fort Lauderdale, Florida to study ministry. And I had a spiritual awakening. And in the middle of the night, I awoke to the room was shaking, and it felt like Della Reese was coming in from Touched by an Angel. I mean, it was very measurable. And the voice said, if you want to live, don't ever drink again.
wow.
And
Wow.
that was the story. So the next day, when I would go to the grocery store, and in my particular store, it was aisle 13, I didn't go by there. And every day after that, I didn't go by there. And I haven't gone by there since, meaning I didn't purchase. Certainly I've gone by there, but I haven't had anything to drink. As a matter of fact, it's like in 6 days, I think, 5 days. It's been 36 years for me to be in my second birth phase of life. And I just never looked back. It was just a pivotal moment of my life. So we would say I woke up, I birthed again to who I was born to be. I knew the first time I took a drink and I became sick. I knew the first time I smoked a cigarette, I had full-blown throat problems. I mean, those were signs to say,
Yeah.
don't go there. But
Right.
I was a rebel and determined, and kept trying to do it for many, many years. And I did the best I could with it. You know, now I laugh at it, meaning, you know, like people will talk about how can anybody commit suicide? I used to be one of those self-righteous people. How could anybody do that? But I was committing a slow one, you know. So you learn that there's one time you're being born, but there's many times in your lifetime when you're being created. And so problems in the family, issues around animals, being judged for sexuality, being judged by religiosity, all those things created and imprinted along the way the work I would spend the rest of my life doing.
Well, in your book, When Did You Die? I think you talk about incrementally, slice by slice, people are dying and they don't even know it. And your
Yes.
book enlightens them on that. Tell us about that.
Well, in our society, commercialization, pharmaceutical, we are, from day one, we're programmed. There's a tribe outside of Phoenix that they don't teach their children the word why. It's
Really?
not even a word. It's not a word. I heard the guy personally speak to a class I was in. They don't teach the word why because they say it's used as victimhood. Why is this happening to me? Or why, instead of being in the space of knowing or whatever the experience is. And when you think about it in our society, and we're little and we ask for milk and we ask for food and we ask for survival things. And then we get a little able to articulate and we ask for things and we're told no. And we say, why? My parents say, because I told you so. You're going to that church because I told you so. I don't go, but you're going. You
Right.
ask the teacher, why do I have to do it like that? I don't think 2 + 2 = 4 because I told you so. Then you go, if you're in a small town and you're into religiosity, I'm the preacher and I told you so. My mother introduced me to her home church pastor as a minister, and he said, women aren't ministers. And my mom said, well, she is. And he said, well, they can't be because I told you so. And then people go to the doctor, I have a sniff, I have a thing, because I'm telling you so. This is your story. I know better than you. So the voice of others becomes louder than the voice that we were born with, our inner voice. And so I learned over and over again to go further and deeper and hear the louder voice, which was mine, my own intuition, and to follow that journey and follow that space. I didn't say it was easy, but it was easier than being so programmed to be robotic, like so many people that I know. And when people become that, they do start dying every day. And by dying, I'm not addressing physical death. I'm addressing energetic death. I'm addressing the life force that is so powerful that we all have. And we are told that by a certain year of our life, that we're going to be, things are going to hurt and ache and we're just going to be tired. And by the time we're dead, it's just really time to move on anyway, because we've been dead a long time. And that is not, in my mind, and the way that it is destined to work. When you go through a hardship, if you really go through it, and this is the expertise of your work, Douglas, you know this, when you really go through the shadow of your own work, you wind up having more energy than you had to start with. And that is natural. So like so many mystery schools, like so many master teachers have been on the planet to tell us, it's not that your life doesn't work. It's that you haven't learned to work with life. When you learn to work with the natural laws of life, you are thriving and totally alive.
Well, it's better to be that way than to endure a life of emotional, what can we call purgatory, and to be a little bit of a rabble rouser, tenacious little child saying, wait a minute, this is not right. It's somewhere innately in you, in your soul, you knew that there was something more, and you endured the hardship. The way to the heavens above, the way to enlightenment, the way to come closer to God Almighty the words long suffering are always like attached, either in brackets, hyphenated. It's always there as a suffix of some sort. And hearing you and listening to your story, which is a fascinating story, people should buy your book, When Did You Die? And also you have another book or two out, being, what's it? Being
a difference maker. Yes.
being a difference maker. I like the title. I can't read my notes. I scribble when I put things out here.
That's
So
quite all right. They can go to my website. It's easy enough.
and
My
the
name,
website is, yeah, what is it?
Temple Hayes, Hayes, templehayes.com, and everything is on there.
Well, you have a very good website. You have a lot of information on there, a lot about who
Thank
you
you.
are, your stories there. And by the way, I want to compliment you, Temple. You're very brave to put
Mhm.
down all the things that happened to you. You're right out there. You're transparent. This is the truth. This is what happened to me. Other people with an ego or so might have, dumbed it down a little bit, but you're there, right there, telling the truth. And I'm sure that's got to encourage anybody who is lost, who is in a circumstance, a child, as somebody who's is going through similar things right now, and people who've gone through it, they must be angry, or they must be depressed, or they must have some emotional illness that when they find out about you and what you did, how you managed and how you became the success you are, that will encourage them. It will take them out of their darkness and put them into some light. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this with more from this amazing woman who is going to tell you her wonderful story. And you can find more about her on her website, templehayes.com. We'll be right back after this.
The Douglas James Cottrell website is where you can learn much more about this amazing man and his journey through a lifetime of spiritual prophecy. The book Secrets of Life answers questions everyone has about the physical versus the spiritual world, why you are here in the world right now, karma, psychic abilities, reincarnation, prayer, and much more about universal laws. This book is essential for those who really desire to follow the path of the divine to soul perfection. Douglas has been chosen to provide you with a keen insight into the purpose of life's journey. Best-selling author Robert Appel says, "The least you can expect from Dr. Cottrell's work is that it will change your life." Go to douglasjamescottrell.com and click on Shop for Secrets of Life and all of his books and learning materials. Welcome back to the interview. Once again, here is Douglas James Cottrell.
So as we were talking before the break about your story and how forthright and truthful you have been, tell us how you made that leap to become the success you are. How did you incrementally, because it doesn't happen overnight, as we all know, it takes hard work.
Mm-hmm.
How did you manage?
You know, when I look at the entirety of my life, it's more about paying attention to what knocks on my door 3 times. And I have always, no matter what, I feel I've always been a metaphysical person. In other words, seeing beyond just the physical reality around me. And so paying attention, to certain things or people I would be introduced to along the way. So if I, for example, over a course of a few months, heard somebody talk about a good therapist, I would say, I need that number. I need to go there. That's what I need to do. So that, I think, is a key point that you made, is that the fact of we develop ourselves by the willingness to do the work. I mean, we might be employed by many people throughout our lifetimes, but how many times do we employ ourselves? We are the most important, right? In how we cope, how we handle things. And if the intention and the outcome is, when I walk through this, my father dying, losing a loved one, the dog dying by an accident, or whatever it is, having people steal from me, whatever it is, if that's our intention, is over here, and that's the outcome, is that I am going to be thriving. I'm going to believe in people again. I'm going to believe in life again as it is designed to be life. The more you love, the harder you hurt, all those things. We're not going to replace being a human being. But if that's where my end place is, as Stephen Covey would say, keeping the end in mind, then I'm doing the work. And I want to do the work because I do want to live. I want to live to be 150. I want to break all these silly, pathetic stories we tell ourselves about aging. We definitely age, but we don't have to grow old. So you create within your own being. I created within my own being anchors that I go back to on a cloudy day. To me, long-term suffering, when somebody talks about long-term suffering, and I'm not talking about physical diseases and those kind of things. I'm talking about the psychology of our essence, our mentalizing, our adrenals, our system that blocks our solar plexus of passion. It's because we haven't done the work. You know, if you just tote, this was painful, that was painful, oh, that was painful, oh, that was painful, and you numb because you don't want to feel it, or you deny your ability to do the work and go into the dark, into the deep, into the tears. Many a time, I mean, I just did that, Douglas, about a month ago. I just took a time out. You know, as kids, we understood, let's take a time out. I just took a time out. My mother had died somewhat unexpectedly in January, and I just kept toting all this sadness, and I had let go of a lot of relationships because I had relocated across the entire United States, not a small move, and I just had some layers of grief that I had to deal with. And so I just said, not available, phone is off, see you later, I'll be back. But I really had to do that. And we need to do those things, and not because avoidance makes it bigger. And then we attract other situations. It's like Velcro. It's like, so then we have other situations. And the next thing you know, we're attacking the person in the highway just because they blew the horn to say hello. What are you doing? You know, it's there, and we want to address it.
That's a good point. People have been hurt previously, and so they, if I could say, they project what's going on in the moment of what happened to them in the past. And so that anger and frustration, whatever is boiling up, I think it's going across the entire country. Mm-hmm. People are so angry. The Dalai Lama and other spiritual leaders some time ago had a conference on why are people so angry? Mm-hmm. And it's a question that I think everybody should ask. And then the reverse is try to find out, well, if I'm angry, what is causing me to be angry, and why am I projecting this on somebody else? Perhaps. But the point is, you have lots of reasons to be angry, to be hurt, to be mean-spirited, to be whatever, based on all that tragedy that happened in a dysfunctional family with all the difficulties that you've recounted. But you didn't.
I refuse to. I refuse to blame repeatedly people, because when I blame, a little bumper sticker, when I blame, I do not claim. I teach people, you know, if you're still blaming your parents after 30 years and you're 30 years old, no fair. Move on. But one of the things you're talking about of why in current culture people are so angry is because they surrendered to being told what to do. They surrendered to politicians telling them what to think and what to do, and it's not natural. You know, we can say it's okay now, people can use profanity, people can do this, people can hate, people can not like another party, people can do this, people can do that. It doesn't matter that how it's promoted in our society. It's not correct. It's incorrect information, and people surrendered to it. And if they hadn't already surrendered to it, they surrendered to it during the COVID era of tell me what to do. Tell me how fast. Tell me where I need to go. Tell me what to do. Because, I don't want to die. We're all going to die. Okay. But we all allowed ourselves to be herded, to be told, this is the way you go. And a lot of individuation was lost during that time. Even some great leaders and orators and teachers and authors and podcasters and all that join this is the way it works. You just tell people what to do and they go do it. But we're not here to create that level in our humanity. We're here to teach people the only answer that you'll ever have is the answer that your voice tells you what to do. No one else. If you go along with someone else because their voice is telling you what to do and it feels right and your voice agrees, that's different. That's why your show is so valuable, because you're teaching people how to think. But if you're doing it because you turn in to TV or your iPhone and it tells you, with half the population on the planet now having a phone, even in impoverished countries, they have phones and they're being told what to do. We must have a revolution. We must have people realizing I got to stop being told what to do unless it innately fits for me. And that was the defining moment in my life, is that coming out of the closet of my own understanding of not needing to be liked by others. People will say to me, I had somebody ask me 2 days ago, Temple, in my work and in the film industry, I've had people take things away from me. I've had people steal from me. I've had people rob from me. And I don't know how you do it. I've seen your book. I don't know how you always show up like ready, willing, and open, and an open heart. How can you do it? And I said, it's very simple. I am unwilling to hurt, abandon, or rob myself.
Wow.
Somebody else may have done it. Somebody else may have said it. It might have happened, but I will not ever betray myself. I did that one time for a very long time, and I will not give in to that ever again. I was created by the divine, and that's where I'm sticking with that story. And I approve this message because I'm not going to do to myself what others may have perceived that they got to do. And especially in public life, you have people making up stories about you all the time. So I won't surrender to that because I know my story.
Well said. People can, you can't control your reputation because other people assess it, but you can control your character. And everybody should really pay attention, come back and listen to this podcast again, over and over, because the words you're using are easy. They're understandable, and you're being very honest and straightforward, but you're giving people those nuggets that they can apply easily. The one thing is tenacity. As you said, I'm not going to let other people harm me. I'm not going to let people take my peace or who you are away from you. They cannot, actually. I think you used the word surrender before. People surrender, they give up. And to me, that's the greatest crime. Wake up. Wake up.
Wake up. That's right. Wake up.
When you had that, let's start a revolution. Okay, it's the wake up revolution here.
Let's go, Douglas. Let's sign up. I'll meet you at the curb.
And we'll have the limo pull up with everybody else. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I think that's showbiz talk, right? I'll send the car.
So. I have had the pleasure of training many a person to be either a prayer partner, spiritual leader, teacher, go out in the field. And I have a nonprofit 501c3 called Global Peace Workers. All this is on the website. But right now I'm having so much joy and fun because we are putting goats and chickens into a tribe outside of Nairobi where they were fading away.
Right.
As the leader told me there that had contacted me, they were giving up on anything or anyone listening or hearing their prayers. So that being said, in my working with people to train them as a difference maker, in that space, many of them have said, well, I'll join you, Temple, when I don't have any problems. And
Nice.
I always say, well, see you in the
It,
afterlife.
yeah.
See you in the afterlife, because if you wait till you don't have any problems, life is problematic. The secret of life is not having problems. The secret of life is how you walk in them, with them, through them, and on the other side of them. And then you use the word compassion, which is come, pass it on. So my story, my sacred story, through the events and through the things in my life, I recognize the people that are like me, that have had religiosity dupe on them. I can see somebody drinking a mile away. I don't have gaydar. I never have had that. but I can really see people and understand the depth of what it's like to feel that you were not created in this holy way. But one of the points I want to make, Douglas, in the evolution of my life story, my narrative, as they say now, is that in the beginning at 5, I was told I was whole and I was holy, right? Shamanic people live in that holy infinity. That's how they see the energy of healing, etc. But I went through this journey of being broken. Well, Temple, she's broken. She's shady. She's broken. My teacher said I was never going to amount to anything because I talk too much. She's shady. She's too much. She's too this. She's too that. There came a time, and this is important for people to anchor in. You are not broken. You never have been broken. So when we address, instead of what's wrong with us, what's right with us, we build upon that. And that is life altering when you can do that. It's like the young man said to me, don't you find it hard being sober, especially now? And I said, young man, you want me to tell you what hard is? Hard is when I don't remember where my car is. Hard is I can't tell the officer my name. Yeah. Hard is they don't know where to find me. I'm trying to reach them, but my car's on the side of the road, maybe like 11, 12 times. Hard is calling somebody and being pretentious because I don't remember the night before. That's hard. Not drinking, it's a walk in the park. I don't like apologizing for myself. I don't mind apologizing for wrongdoing, but I don't like apologizing for being me. And the 15 years that I drank, I apologize for being me a lot. You know what I mean?
Well, throughout life, you come to these wisdoms of life, events in life. And remember, you have knowledge, then you have experience, and together that makes wisdom. So the knowledge you had, the experience you've had, you become wise about how not to leave your car in a ditch and how not to talk policemen when you don't want to, et cetera, et cetera. But the whole idea is that that's the truth. That's your way. That's how you got to be who you are. And that's why you're a great teacher. You cannot not be a good teacher without having such life-changing, altering circumstances, in my opinion. And I guess you agree that if you go through these experiences and you do not give up on yourself or life, but you keep going, you'll find your way to that forest. You'll leave that darkness behind because you didn't cause this. This was imposed upon a little girl. Mm-hmm. That was my understanding of evil, means the absence of love. So this absence of love was imposed upon you. Your poor mother suffered probably more than you or anybody else knows, because she was looking out for you and trying to be the standard, whatever that was, trying to fit in the community. So when I see this imposition on people, this is evil, the absence of love, in my opinion. And I've had difficulties in my life the same, and many of the people I've interviewed have had the same sorts of circumstances in their life that you're recounting. But there's something inside of you that's courageous. There's a warrior. There's a little girl in there saying, this is not right. And then you've had messages from angels or the divine. You had this enormous room full of energy, a blessing, some sort of communication with the divine. And as you explored your metaphysical, intuitive abilities, I guess you've had dreams, you've had visitations from, I would suspect, higher, more evolved beings. And probably you've been a little aware of the future, your future, and where the world needs to go. I would suspect that very strongly,
Yes.
to encourage you to go where you are going. So along the way of difficulty, that, tell me if you agree, when you start to feel lonely and isolated and unloved, you contact that divine love inside. It doesn't take your problems away, as you've said. It just gives you the hope to look for the opportunities. And I'm sure there's people who've come along in your life at certain times that have lifted you out of some circumstance or given you some word or have supported you somehow. That's, still had to take the steps yourself. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And, in reference to one of your statements earlier, I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. And I heard some sound bites in there myself, like, ooh, want to write that one down.
Please feel free. Go ahead.
That being said, I was fortunate. I'll do this as quick a bullet point as I can do it. But at 38 years old, so I was coming up on almost 11 years sobriety, and I had been in therapy and and leading churches and those kind of things, and moving along pretty good. I was externally pretty polished. I had the language, I had the the training, and yet inside, what I realized, Douglas, is there was a hole, and I started becoming aware, inner listening, that I had a hole. Like I felt like I was dying, not physical dying, but dying. And so I called forth Great Spirit and said, show me the way. So the quick of the story is I went to help a woman whose husband had dropped dead at 42. And it had been a few weeks after he had died. And I went to ask her if there's anything I could do. And I said, this is odd. You're not gray. The absence of life hasn't bestowed itself upon you. What's your secret? And she said, well, I saw a shaman. I saw a healer. And the moment she said that, I went, that's in my future. But the me I would have always been before, give me the number, give me the name. I'm doing it. I'm taking care of it. I'm making it happen, but I didn't. I went, if this is right, I'll know. Fast track, a few months. Somebody came as a guest speaker to a community I had. They were a shaman. They were trained. I called her up on the way to her house. I got the message. She's to be your teacher. On the way over, she got the message. She's the reason that you moved from Canada. This is your protege. I studied with her for 10 years. That being said, I was trained and told how to think and what to be, like so many people in our society. And I was taught, good things are happening to you. God loves you. Good things aren't happening to you. Well, you're done. Love you not. Oh, didn't love me today, don't love me tomorrow. I went on a journey. I went on a spiritual journey, and I asked, what do I need to know about my life? What do I need to know about my connection with the divine? And in this visual, I was taken up on a hill. They had branding iron like that of cattle. I don't like that either, but that's what they do. And they had the branding iron. And in this visual, Douglas, they took the palms of my hand and they branded a heart. And the message was, you are always loved. Being loved is never on the table. You are always loved. Fast track. Almost 14 years later, I'm in Peru. I'm in a shaman store, and I have a walking stick that's a hand. And lo and behold, if you want me to, I'll walk over to the other side of the room and get it. There's a heart in the palm of this wood piece that I just had to have, because that was the external part of my life experience. So however anyone holds that, it's that regardless of what is happening, I am the faculty of love. It doesn't mean I love sometimes what is happening. I didn't say that. I'm not cuckoo, not la, 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 sing, sing, joy, joy. No, it's not fake. Authenticity is at the core of your being, is that you are the presence and power of love that is unwavering. We are the ones that keep criticizing and minimalizing. Oh, I'm loved today because I got a new boyfriend. I'm not loved tomorrow because I'm sad. No.
Well, listen, hold it right there. We'll take a short break while you go over to the other side of the room, and
You
show
got it.
us. No, just a sec. Hang still. We'll be right back after this. We'll take a short break.
Did you know that Dr. Douglas Cottrell has several other weekly channels where you can participate? Check out his Sunday International Spiritual Healing Service on Zoom. And you might also enjoy the Wake Up podcast exploring human consciousness, awareness, and intuition with Dr. Douglas and co-host Les Hubert. Just go to DouglasJamesCottrell.com and message us on the contact page to add your name to the Zoom links of your choice. Welcome back to the interview. Once again, here is Douglas James Cottrell.
Well, just before the break, you told me this amazing story about the shaman having a heart in the palm of your hand, and then you went to another shaman or a place in Peru and you found a walking stick. Show us what you found.
Yeah, that was like 13, 14 years later. So with it being wood, I
Just
don't.
turn it a little so the light catches it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So there's the heart
Wow.
on the hand
In the palm of the hand.
with a Celtic cross, which I studied Celtic shamanism. It's like my saying is, you can't make this stuff up. It's just so good. It's just so good. But you really defined it, Douglas, because you said it's about being awake. It's about paying attention, and these gifts come to all of us all the time. And it's just being present to them.
Well, when you said, I picked up on it, when you looked at this person who was grieving and you said, I don't see the gray in your face.
Mm-hmm.
I see lights and colors around people too. So you're really looking at this person's aura or energy
Yes.
field around. And obviously you're very adept at doing that. Tell us more about your intuitive abilities, if you care to. When you see people, do you see?
That's funny. I was just thinking that.
Where do you think I'm getting the questions from?
Because I want to. Well, I love that we have this great connection. It's really.
I admire you.
I feel it I feel it in my heart, and I admire you. That said, I want people to understand that if you want to develop a strong body, a physical body, you don't go to the gym right away and lift 150 pounds. You do things incrementally. You build up. The first week, you even feel a little like, I don't feel better, I feel worse. Yeah. Then you have breakthroughs. Trust is a muscle. It's an internal muscle. And so you build up to it. And so you learn to listen. Like you listen to, don't go down that freeway today. Don't, and you hear your voice, not all the other chatter, not the Beatles and all the other, songs and
You
Barry
hear
Manilow going through your head.
that
You know,
myself voice,
you're
baby.
you're hearing you're hearing your voice that remains the same in your life. And so you didn't go down that freeway, and the next day you happened to read that there was an accident there for
And
which you could have been in, but you
right.
listened. So you went, oh, muscles being established, and so you're into a practice. This is what life is. It's a practice. And you're learning all the time, but you have to test it. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and use it. And so you develop this muscle. I was told in 2021, that I was to pack up my life and relocate across the United States. I had 8 people tell me in 6 weeks. I was very comfortable. I had a home across from the beach. My mom lived down the street. I had a little goddaughter, still do. My mother has since then passed, as I said, and a wonderful, comfortable life. Huge community, hangout. Our lives were just great. And I get the message, you're leaving and you're going.
You left out, yeah. That's the way the spiritual roles are. Everybody who gets an awakening, it's now you work for the Godfather.
It is. And if you don't listen, you
Yeah.
have pain. And it really saddens me sometimes when people don't listen and then they want to blame something or someone else. When you were told, don't go there, don't do that. My father, you'll love this story. My father's been gone a long time, 20 something years. But back in the day, before your phones would automatically change or your computers on the time change, every time it would give me a reason to call him, and I'd go, Dad, does the clock go forward or backwards? I don't remember. And he'd tell me, what it was. And then I would question him. And he would say, I don't understand why you call me, because you don't believe what I tell you. And that's the way we are in our design. If we ask the angels or archetype or creator, whatever you call it, it doesn't really matter what you call it. What matters is how you believe about it. When you ask for answers and you get them, you want to listen, because it's very important that you do so.
Well, somebody just put their shadow across your face there. They're gone. Okay. So they're coming back again. Tell them to stop walking back and forth. There we go.
It's angels, I guess. There's
Hey,
an
really?
angel shadow here. You
Okay.
saw a shadow?
Yeah, I did. So I'll take it as that. But we have just a few more minutes left in the interview. How can people get a hold of you to buy your books, of course, at your templehaze.com website? And then you mentioned that you counsel people, and I guess you see people. Is that like, well, first of all, explain how people can get a hold of you and how can you help them?
Everything is there on the website, templehaze.com. If they have an interest in the book, they can even do a downloadable, a free chapter right there. They can start delving into it. And the other thing is, along the way, it's about work with me or as a mentor. You can get in touch with me that way, and I can connect with someone and see if we are a good fit.
Okay.
For me, that's more important than anything. Are we a good fit? So that's part of that, is that space of that. So in that energy, that's right there. They can fill it out. And then anyone, as far as interviewing or whatever, goes through my publicist, Dia Chandra Hunter, and all that's on the website as well.
No, we're not going to let you go anywhere. We're going to keep interviewing you every week.
Well, hey, I love to be on your show more often, because we've just barely tapped the surface of so many things that can be helpful to people. But it's not just conceptual learning. It's about doing different things and doing different exercises that you can see your life in a different way, because so much of it is learning to reframe your life instead of setting everything right, which causes pain and anger and self-righteousness. Learn to see it right and see your
Absolutely.
part in it, you know?
Well, today, in all the things you said, uh, people can take heart that they don't need to endure their life, that they
Right.
have choice.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of rebel rousing doesn't hurt. A
No.
little bit of questioning people who say things to you, including your faith. You have to question, what is an angel? What is a spiritual experience? How can I get to God Almighty? How can I have a personal relationship with God? And these things are okay to ask. But listening to your story, it's been a remarkable journey. You've got miles to go before you sleep, as they say, and you're a light worker for sure, and you're helping people all over the world. And definitely, we'll have you back here on the Global Village podcast and live stream real soon, because again, we just scratched the surface. We're listening to our guest today, Helen, or sorry, I don't know. I've been almost going to call you Helen 3 or 4 times. I don't know why. It's templehays.com, a global spiritual leader, author, and difference maker. And the name of the book or books are, go ahead again, and your website again.
I would say my most notable book is When Did You Die? And it's 8 steps to stop dying every day and start waking up. And my other book is Being a Difference Maker and Living Life Out Loud. And of course, I have another book of How to Speak Unity and a few others. I have a little children's book about life rights, about how we need to get back to honoring and respecting life and all living things. And that's my nonprofit work, Global Peace Workers. And
Wonderful.
It's all listed there on the website. It's been
Okay.
a pleasure being with you today.
It's been a pleasure. I admire courage above all things. And and you are definitely a light worker. You're the real deal. You're the genuine article.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to tell the truth. Looking back and forward, you're not afraid to tell your life path, as most people who are enlightened are. So, my good friend, I've got to ask you the question, how did you get your first name, Temple? It's an unusual, amazing name. I really like it. How did you get that name?
Thank you, Douglas. Temple was my grandfather's middle name. His name was John Temple Hayes. So that's how it came about. I know it's always been a conversation in my life where my name came from. And I love it because I get to carry my grandfather with me.
Well, I see it as a play on words. Temple, meaning you,
Yeah, I
you
know.
the keeper of the temple. So
I
okay.
understand that.
I'm sure people have said lots of things about that over the years. So, but I just, in the most complimentary way, I wanted to say that. So I'll say until next time, my friends, you're listening to the Global Village podcast. Please listen in to the Global Village International Radio Show on Friday nights. My guest has been Temple Hayes, and Hayes is spelled Hayes. templehays.com is her website, and you'll find out more about this lovely lady, this global spiritual leader, author, and difference maker. I'm your host, Dr. Douglas James Cottrell. We'll see you right back here on the Global Village programming in the very near future. God bless, peace and prosperity.
Here on the program, Douglas speaks with fascinating guests who share their experiences and insights. We post new videos frequently, so be sure to check back often to see who's being featured next. For more information about Douglas and the guests, check out the links in the description below. And please make sure to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button so you won't miss a single episode. It also helps boost the signal and spread the word about the show. And feel free to add your comments below. Your feedback, comments, and suggestions are what help us. And thanks for visiting.